I was 24 when this happened, and it was during a solo road trip I took through California. At the time, I had just finished a really stressful year. I'd been working nonstop, barely taking time off, and I finally decided I needed to get out for a while. Nothing crazy, just a few days driving, stopping wherever I felt like it. No real plan. I started in Los Angeles and planned to make my way toward Las Vegas, but I wasn't in a rush. I wanted to take the long route, stop at random places, maybe even camp if I found a good spot. The first day went completely normal. I left early in the morning, grabbed coffee, put on some music, and just drove. It actually felt amazing being alone like that. No schedule, no one calling me, just open road. By the time it started getting dark, I was somewhere past Barstow. I didn't realize how empty that area gets at night until I was actually out there. During the day, it's just desert and scattered buildings. But at night, it feels like you're driving through nothing. No lights, no cars, just darkness on both sides of the road. I checked my GPS and saw there was a gas station coming up in a few miles. I wasn't low on gas yet, but I figured I'd stop anyway. I also wanted to stretch my legs and maybe grab something to eat. When I pulled in, the place looked off. It wasn't abandoned or anything, but it definitely didn't look like a place people stopped often. The lights were on, but they were dim, like half of them were burnt out. There were only 2 pumps, and neither of them looked new. There was one car parked near the side of the building, but no one inside it. I sat in my car for a second, just looking around. I don't know why, but I suddenly felt this weird hesitation about getting out, but I brushed it off. I told myself I was just overthinking, because I was alone at night in the middle of nowhere. So I got out, filled up my tank, and then walked toward the small convenience store attached to the station. When I stepped inside, the first thing I noticed was how quiet it was. Not normal quiet, like completely silent. No music, no fridge humming, nothing. There was a man behind the counter, probably in his late 40s or early 50s. He looked at me the second I walked in, but didn't say anything. I gave him a quick nod like a normal hey, but he didn't respond. That was the first thing that felt strange. I walked down one of the aisles, pretending to look at snacks, but really just trying to get a feel for place. Something about it felt wrong, but I couldn't explain why. Then I noticed another guy. He was standing near the back of the store by the drinks fridge. At first, I thought he was just another customer, but the longer I looked, the more I realized he wasn't actually doing anything. He wasn't grabbing anything. He wasn't looking around. He was just standing there, facing me. The second he realized I noticed him, he turned away and opened the fridge like he had just been about to grab something. That alone wouldn't have been a big deal. But then I noticed something else. The reflection in the glass. Even though his body had turned, his head hadn't fully turned away. He was still watching me through the reflection. That's when I started feeling genuinely uncomfortable. I grabbed a random bottle of water from the shelf and walked up to the counter. The man behind it still hadn't said a word. I set the bottle down and waited. He slowly scanned it, then looked up at me. For a few seconds, he just stared. Then he said, very calmly, "Long drive." Something about the way he said it didn't feel like small talk. It felt intentional. I just nodded and said, "Yeah, heading out of town." He kept looking at me, like he was trying to read something. Then he said, "Not many places to stop out here." I forced a small laugh and said, "Yeah, I noticed." That's when I felt it. That same feeling you get when someone is standing too close behind you. I turned slightly, and the second guy was now right there, just a few feet away. I hadn't heard him walk up at all. He wasn't pretending to shop anymore. He was just standing there, too close. The man behind the counter glanced at him for a split second, then back at me. That was the moment everything clicked in my head. I don't know how to explain it, but it felt like they both knew something I didn't. Like I had just walked into a situation I wasn't supposed to be in. I grabbed my water and put cash on the counter. "Keep the change," I said quickly. The man didn't even look at the money. He just kept staring at me. Then he said something that made my stomach drop. "You staying around here tonight?" I shook my head immediately. "No, just passing through." There was a pause. Then the second guy, the one behind me, spoke the first time. His voice was low. "Where you headed?" I didn't answer that. I just said, "Have a good night," and walked straight out of the store. I could feel them both watching me as I left. The second I got outside, the silence felt even heavier. I walked quickly to my car, trying not to look back. But right before I got in, I couldn't help it. I glanced toward the store window. Both of them were standing there, watching me, not moving, just watching. I got in my car immediately, locked the doors, and started the engine. My hands were shaking more than I expected. I told myself to calm down. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe they were just weird guys. But something didn't sit right at all. As I pulled out of the station, I checked my mirrors. The other car that had been parked there earlier, its headlights suddenly turned on. I didn't even see anyone get in it. The car slowly pulled out after me. At first, I told myself it was just a coincidence. Maybe they were leaving too. But then I turned onto the main road, and so did they. I sped up a little. They matched my speed. That's when the panic really started to set in. There were no other cars on the road. No houses. Nothing. Just me and them behind me. I kept driving for a few minutes, trying to stay calm, but they didn't fall back. They didn't pass me either. They just stayed the same distance behind me, like they were waiting. Then my phone lost signal. Completely. No service. I remember gripping the steering wheel so tight my hands started hurting. I had no idea what their intentions were, but I knew one thing for sure. They weren't just casually driving the same direction. They were following me, and out there was nowhere to go. This happened to me about 2 years ago when I was visiting Santa Cruz, California. I wasn't alone this time. I was there with my girlfriend, Megan. We had been planning a small weekend trip for a while. Just something simple where we could relax near the beach, walk around, and get away from work for a couple days. Neither of us wanted anything too expensive, so instead of a hotel, we booked a small Airbnb just outside the main downtown area. It looked nice in the pictures. Nothing fancy, just a cozy little place with a bedroom, kitchen, and a small backyard. The host didn't meet us in person. Like most places now, it was just a keypad entry. We got the code a few hours before check-in and let ourselves in. Right away, the place seemed normal, clean, quiet, maybe a little older than the photos made it look, but nothing concerning. There was a slightly musty smell when we first walked in, but we figured it was just because the place had been closed up. We unpacked, settled in, and decided to walk down the beach before it got dark. That first night was perfect. We grabbed food from a small restaurant, sat near the water, watched the sunset, and just talked. It felt like one of those trips where everything was going to go right. Nothing weird, nothing off, at least not yet. When we got back to the Airbnb later that night, that's when I noticed the first thing. There was a door at the end of the hallway that I didn't remember seeing before. It was closed. It didn't look out of place exactly, but it stood out because the rest of the layout was so simple. Just one bedroom, one bathroom, a living area, and then this extra door. I pointed it out to Megan and asked if she had seen it earlier. She shrugged and said she probably just didn't notice it. I walked over and tried the handle. Locked. That wasn't too weird either. A lot of Airbnbs have closets or storage rooms that are off limits, but for some reason, I didn't like it. Something about that door just felt unnecessary, like it didn't belong in a place that small. I let it go, though. We were tired, so we just got ready for bed and tried to relax. Around 1 or 2 in the morning, I woke up suddenly. I didn't know why at first. The room was dark, quiet, nothing obvious. Then I heard it, a soft sound coming from the hallway. It sounded like something lightly dragging across the floor. Not loud, just enough to notice. At first, I thought it might be the house settling or maybe something shifting, but then it happened again, slow, deliberate, like someone moving something. I sat up in bed, listening. Megan was still asleep next to me. I didn't want to wake her up over nothing, so I just stayed quiet and tried to figure out what I was hearing. Then it stopped, completely. No footsteps, no movement, nothing. After a few minutes, I convinced myself it was nothing and laid back down. Eventually, I fell back asleep. The next morning, everything felt normal again. Sunlight coming through the windows, birds outside, normal sounds. I almost didn't even bring it up, but while we were making coffee, I casually mentioned it to Megan. She looked at me for a second and then said, "You heard that too?" That immediately made my stomach drop. She said she woke up at some point during the night and heard something in the hallway as well, but assumed it was me getting up. That was the first moment we both realized something wasn't right. Still, we didn't jump to anything extreme. We told ourselves it could have been pipes, old flooring, anything like that. We didn't want to ruin the trip over something we couldn't explain. So we went about our day, walked around town, went to the boardwalk, got food, just tried to enjoy ourselves. But that door stayed in the back of my mind. Every time we came back to the house, I caught myself looking at it. It was always closed, always locked. That second night, that's when things got worse. We stayed in that evening, watched a movie, and went to bed a little earlier. Sometime in the middle of the night, I woke up again. But this time, it wasn't sound that woke me. It was a feeling, that same instinct you get when something is wrong. I opened my eyes and just listened. At first, nothing. Then, a soft click, clear as day, coming from the hallway. My entire body went tense. That wasn't a house noise. That was a door. I slowly sat up and stared toward the bedroom doorway. The hallway light was off, but I could still make out shapes in the darkness. And that's when I noticed it. The door at the end of the hallway was open, just slightly. I know for a fact it was closed when we went to bed. I hadn't touched it. Megan hadn't touched it. But now there was a small gap, just enough to see darkness inside. I felt this wave of cold go through my body. I didn't move. I didn't speak. I just stared at it, waiting for something. Seconds felt like minutes. Nothing happened. No movement. No sound. Just that door, slightly open. I reached over and gently shook Megan awake. She stirred and whispered, "What?" I pointed toward the hallway. She looked, and I saw her entire expression change. She saw it too. We both just sat there in silence. Neither of us wanted to say it out loud, but we were both thinking the same thing. That door did not open itself. After what felt like forever, Megan whispered, "Did you open that?" I shook my head. No. She didn't say anything after that. We just kept staring at it. Then, very slowly, it moved, just a little more, like something on the other side had pushed it, not all the way, just enough to widen the gap. That was it. That was the moment fear fully took over. I grabbed my phone immediately and turned on the flashlight. I didn't want to do it, but I also couldn't just sit there. I got out of bed slowly, every step feeling heavier than the last. Megan grabbed my arm and whispered, "Don't." I looked at her, and I could tell she was genuinely scared. But at that point, I needed to know. I walked toward the hallway. Each step felt louder than it should have. The light from my phone barely reached the door. When I got close enough, I stopped. I could hear something, very faint, breathing, coming from inside the room. I froze completely. It wasn't loud, but it was there, slow, steady, like someone was standing just on the other side, listening, waiting. I didn't open the door. I didn't say anything. I just backed away slowly, step by step, keeping my eyes on it the entire time. When I got back to the bedroom, I shut the door and locked it. Megan was already grabbing her phone. "Call someone," she whispered. My hands were shaking so bad, I almost dropped mine. I dialed 911 and tried to keep my voice steady as I explained what was happening. The operator told us to stay inside the room and keep the door locked. Those next 10 to 15 minutes felt like hours. We didn't hear the hallway again. No footsteps, no movement, just silence, which somehow made it worse. When the police finally arrived, they knocked and announced themselves. I opened the bedroom door slowly. They checked the entire house. Then they went to that door. I remember standing there, watching as one of the officers reached for the handle. He opened it fully. Inside was a small storage room. But that's not what mattered. What mattered was what they found. A blanket, a water bottle, and a phone charger plugged into the wall. Someone had been staying in there. Recently, the officer turned to me and said something I'll never forget. "Whoever was in here knew you were here." They searched the rest of the house, But whoever it was had already left. There was no sign of forced entry, which meant one thing. They either had a key, or they had been there before we even arrived. We didn't stay another minute. We grabbed what we could and left immediately. We contacted Airbnb, filed a report, everything. The host claimed they had no idea about the room being used. But I don't believe that. Not for a second. What still bothers me the most is that breathing. That quiet, steady breathing. Just on the other side of that door. Because it means one thing. When it opened, they weren't leaving. They were coming out. This happened last year when I was working a temporary night shift job in California. It wasn't anything special. I had picked up a short-term delivery job to make some extra money. The company needed drivers to transport small packages between coastal towns, mostly along Highway 1. If you've ever driven that route at night, you already know how isolated it can feel. During the day, it's beautiful. Ocean views, cliffs, tourists everywhere. At night, it's a completely different place. Dark, quiet, long stretches of road with no lights, no houses, nothing but the sound of the ocean somewhere below you. I had been doing the job for about a week when this happened. Most of my shifts were between 9 p.m. and 4 a.m., which I didn't mind at first. Less traffic, less stress, just driving. That night started like any other. I picked up a small package from a distribution point just outside Monterey and was told to deliver it to a drop-off location about an hour south. The instructions were simple. Drive to the location, leave the package in a secure drop box, and head back. I didn't think anything of it. The drive started normal. Music playing, windows slightly down, cool air coming in. But about 30 minutes in, I started noticing something. There was a car behind me. At first, that wasn't unusual. Even at night, you'll occasionally see another car. But after a while, it started feeling off. No matter how fast I went, they stayed the same distance behind me, not getting closer, not falling back. Just there. I told myself it was just coincidence. Same direction, same speed. Nothing weird. But then I slowed down slightly, just to test it. They slowed down too. That's when I started paying attention. I sped up again. So did they, perfectly matching me. That's when I felt that first real sense of unease. Still, I didn't panic. I just kept driving. Eventually, I reached a long stretch where there was a small pull-off area on the side of the road. I decided to try something. I turned on my signal and pulled over. The car behind me slowed and then stopped too, about 30 feet back. That was it. That confirmed it. They weren't just going the same way. They were following me. My heart started pounding. I didn't get out of the car. I didn't move. I just sat there, staring into my rearview mirror. Their headlights were on, but I couldn't see inside the car. After about 20 seconds, they turned their headlights off. Completely. Now I couldn't see anything at all. Just darkness behind me. That was the moment fear really kicked in. I immediately pulled back on the road and kept driving, faster this time. A few seconds later, their headlights came back on, and they followed again. At that point, I grabbed my phone and checked for signal. Nothing. No service. Of course. I kept driving, trying to stay calm, trying to think. The drop-off location was still about 20 minutes away, and there was nothing in between. No gas stations. No towns. Nothing. Just road. I kept glancing in my mirrors every few seconds. They were still there, always the same distance, never getting closer, never leaving. After what felt like forever, I finally reached the drop-off point. It was a small gravel area with a metal box mounted on a post. No buildings, no lights, just a box and a small sign. I pulled in quickly and parked. The car behind me slowed, but didn't pull in. They stopped on the road, watching. I didn't want to get out. Every instinct was telling me not to, but I had to finish the delivery. I grabbed the package, stepped out, and quickly walked to the drop box. The sound of the ocean was louder here, wind moving through the area. And behind me, nothing. No movement, no footsteps, just silence. I opened the box and dropped the package inside. Then I turned back toward my car, and that's when I saw it. The car that had been following me was now empty. Driver door open, Lights still on, but no one inside. I froze. Completely. I hadn't heard a door open. I hadn't heard footsteps. There was nowhere to hide out there. Just open space and darkness. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear in my ears. I started walking back toward my car slowly. Try to look around without making it obvious. That's when I heard it. Footsteps. Behind me. Close. Too close. I turned around instantly. Nothing. No one there. But I knew I heard it. I got back into my car as fast as I could and locked the doors. My hands were shaking uncontrollably now. I looked toward the other car again. Still empty. Still open. Then something moved. Just slightly. Near the side of the road. I squinted, trying to focus. And then I saw him. A man. Standing just outside the edge of the light. Far enough to stay in the dark, but close enough to watch me. He wasn't moving. Just standing there. Facing me. I couldn't see his face clearly, but I could tell he was smiling. Not a normal smile. Wide. Unnatural. Like he was enjoying this. I didn't wait another second. I threw the car into drive and sped out of there. I didn't care about the road. Didn't care about anything except getting away. I checked my mirrors constantly as I drove. The car didn't follow this time. It stayed there. Or at least, I didn't see it again. I didn't slow down until I finally reached an area with lights and other cars. The moment I got signal back, I pulled over and called my dispatcher. I told them everything. They were quiet for a moment. Then they asked me something strange. Did you complete the delivery? I said yes. There was another pause. Then they said, that location hasn't been active for months. I felt my stomach drop. I told them that couldn't be right. I had just dropped the package there. They asked me to describe the box. I did. Another pause. Then they said, there shouldn't be a box there anymore. That's when everything started sinking in. The instructions, the location, that car, that man. None of it made sense. I quit that job the next day. Didn't ask questions. Didn't go back. What still bothers me is that box. Because if that location wasn't active, then who was I delivering that package to? And more importantly, who was waiting there for me to arrive?